GiveWell.org to see a very short list of top charities that have met GiveWell's exacting standards. More information at GiveWell.org. Hi, I'm Robert Krulwich. Radiolab is supported by Anki, presenting Vector the Good Robot, a giant roll forward, if you will, for robot kind. He's a real-life robot sidekick that lives in your home. He can see, hear, feel, navigate on his own, updating over time with new features. Order Vector the Good Robot at anki.com/Radiolab. Enter code Radiolab for a 10% discount.
Oh, wait, you're listening?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
You're
Listening
to Radiolab.
Radio
From
WNYC. Yeah.
I'm Chad Abumrad.
I'm Robert Krulwich, and you know what this is.
This is Radiolab.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to play you a little bit of tape first, just to set up what we're going to do today. About a month ago, we were doing the thing about the fake news.
Yeah, we're very worried about a lot of fake news. A lot of people are. But in the middle of doing that reporting, we were talking with a fellow from Vanity Fair.
My name is Nick Bilton. I'm a special correspondent for Vanity Fair.
And in the course of our conversation, Nick, and this had nothing to do with what we were talking about, by the way, Nick just got into a sort of he went into a kind of a nervous reverie, I'd say.
Yeah, he was like, you guys want to talk about fake news, but that's not actually what's eating at me. The thing that I've been pretty obsessed with lately is actually not fake news, but it's automation and artificial intelligence and driverless cars, because it's going to have a larger effect on society than any technology that I think has ever been created in the history of mankind. I know that's kind of a bold statement, but
Quite bold.
but you've got to imagine that that there will be in the next 10 years 20 to 50 million jobs that will just vanish to automation. You've got million truckers that will lose their jobs. But it's not. We think about like automation and driverless cars, and we think about the fact that they are going to. The people that just drive the cars, like the taxi drivers and the truckers, are going to lose their jobs. But what we don't realize is that there are entire industries that are built around just cars. So, for example, if you're not driving the car, why do you need insurance? There's no parking tickets because your driverless car knows where it can and cannot park and goes and finds a spot and moves and so on. If there are truckers that are no longer using rest stops because driverless cars don't have to stop and pee or take a nap, then all of those little rest stops all across America are affected. People aren't stopping to use the restrooms. They're not buying burgers. They're not staying in these hotels and so on and so forth. And then you look at driverless cars to a next level. The whole concept of what a car is going to change. So, for example, right now, a car has 5 seats and a wheel. But if I'm not driving, well, what's the point of having 5 seats and a wheel? You could imagine that you take different cars. And maybe when I was on my way here to this interview, I wanted to work out. So I called a driverless gym car. Or I have a meeting out in Santa Monica after this, and it's an hour. So I call a movie car to watch a movie on the way out there. Or an office car, and I pick up someone else, and we have a meeting on the way. And all of these things are going to happen not in a vacuum, but simultaneously. This, pizza delivery drivers are going to be replaced by robots that will actually cook your pizza on the way to your house in a little box and then deliver it. And so, kind of a little bit of a long-winded answer, but I truly do think that that it's going to have a massive, massive effect on society. Am I stressing you guys out? Are you having heart palpitations over there?
My blood pressure has gone up. Yeah.
So that's a fairly compelling description of a very dangerous future.
Yes, but you know what? It's funny. One of the things that we couldn't use that tape initially, at least.
Right.
But we kept thinking about it because it actually weirdly points us back to a story we did about a decade ago. The story of a moral problem that's about to get totally reimagined.
It may be that what Nick is worried about and what we were worried about 10 years ago have now come dangerously close together.
So what we thought we would do is we're going to play you the story as we did it then, sort of the full segment, and then we're going to amend it on the back end. And by way of just disclaiming, this was at a moment in our development where there's just like way too many sound effects, just gratuitous.
Well, you don't have to apologize for
No,
that.
I'm going to apologize because there's just too much. Just too much. And also, like, we talk about the fMRI machine like it's this, like, amazing thing when it's sort of commonplace now. Anyhow, doesn't matter. We're going to play it for you and then talk about it on the back end. We start with a description of something called the trolley problem. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, you're near some train tracks. Go there in your mind.
Okay.
There are 5 workers on the tracks working. They've got their backs turned to the trolley, which is coming in the distance.
I mean, they're repairing the track.
They are repairing the
This
track.
is unbeknownst to them, the trolley is approaching.
They don't see it. You can't shout to them.
Okay.
And if you do nothing, here's what'll happen. 5 workers will die.
Oh my God! That was a horrible experience. I don't want that to happen.
No, you don't, but you have a choice. You can do A, nothing, or B, it so happens next to you is a lever. Pull the lever and the trolley will jump onto some side tracks where there is only one person working.
So if the so if the trolley goes on the second track, it will kill the one guy.
Yeah, so there's your choice. Do you kill one man by pulling a lever, or do you kill 5 men by doing nothing?
Well, I'm gonna pull the lever.
Naturally. All right, here's part 2. You're standing near some train tracks. 5 guys are on the tracks, just as before, and there is the trolley coming. Right.
The same 5 guys working on the
Same
track.
5 guys.
Backs to the train, they can't see it.
Yeah, exactly. However, I'm going to make a couple changes. Now you're standing on a footbridge that passes over the tracks. You're looking down onto the tracks. There's no lever anywhere to be seen, except next to you, there is a guy.
What do you mean there's a guy?
A large guy, large individual, standing next to you on the bridge, looking down with you over the tracks, and you realize, wait, I can save those 5 workers if I push this man. Give him a little tap. He'll land on the tracks and
Hey,
stop
stops the train.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that.
But surely you realize the math is the same.
You mean I'll save 4 people this way?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this time I'm pushing the guy. Are you insane? No.
All right, here's the thing. If you ask people these questions, and we did, starting with the first, is it okay to kill 1 man to save 5 using a lever? 9 out of 10 people will say.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you ask them, is it okay to kill 1 man to save 5 by pushing the guy? 9 out of 10 people will say.
No. Never. No.
No.
It is practically universal. And the thing is, if you ask people, why is it okay to murder, because that's what it is, murder a man with a lever and not okay to do it with your hands, people don't really know.
Pulling the lever to save the 5. I don't know, that feels better than pushing the 1 to save the 5. But I don't really know why. So there's a good moral quandary for you.
And if having a moral sense is a unique and special human quality, then maybe we us 2 humans anyway, you and me,
Yeah.
should at least inquire as to why this happens. And I happen to have met somebody who has a hunch. He's a young guy at Princeton University, wild curly hair, bit of mischief in his eye. His name is Josh Green. All right. And he spent the last few years trying to figure out where this inconsistency comes from.
How do people make this judgment? Forget whether or not these judgments are right or wrong, just what's going on in the brain that makes people distinguish so naturally and intuitively between these 2 cases, which, from an actuarial point of view, are very, very, very similar, if not identical.
Josh is, by the way, a philosopher and a neuroscientist, so this gives him special powers. He doesn't sort of sit back in a chair, smoke a pipe, and think, now, why do you have these differences? He says, no, I would like to look inside people's heads, because in our heads we may find clues as to where these feelings of revulsion or acceptance come from. In our brains.
So we're here in the control room. What you basically just see is...
And it just so happens that in the basement of Princeton, there was this,
Yeah.
well, big circular thing.
Yeah, it looks kind of like an airplane engine.
180,000-pound brain scanner.
I'll tell you a funny story. You can't have any metal in there because of the magnet. So we have this long list of questions that we ask people to make sure they can go in. Do you have a pacemaker? Have you ever worked with metal? Blah, 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 blah.
Have you ever worked with metal?
Yeah, because you could have little flecks of metal in your eyes that you would never even know are there from having done metalworking. And one of the questions is whether or not you wear a wig or anything like that, because they often have metal wires and like that. And there's this very nice woman who does brain research here who's Italian, and she's asking her subjects over the phone all these screening questions. And so I have this person over to dinner. She said, yeah, I ended up doing this study, but it has to be the weirdest questions. This woman's like, "Do you have a herpes?" And and I'm like, "What does it have to do with if I have herpes or not?" And I want to see anyway. And she said, she asked, she said, "Do you have a hairpiece?" But she, so now she asks people if you wear a wig or whatever. If you wear
Anyhow, what Josh does is he invites people into this room, has them lie down on what is essentially a cot on rollers, and he rolls them into the machine. Their heads are braced, so they're sort of stuck in there. Have you ever done this?
Oh yeah, several times.
And then he tells them stories. He tells them the same two, trolley tales that you told before. And then at the very instant that they're deciding whether I should push the lever or whether I should push the man, at that instant, the scanner snaps pictures of their brains. And what he found in those pictures was, frankly, a little startling. He showed us some.
I'll show you some stuff. Okay, let me think.
The picture that I'm looking at is a sort of it's a brain looked, I guess, from the top down.
Yeah, it's top down and sort of sliced, like a deli slicer.
And the first slide that he showed me was a human brain being asked the question, "Would you pull the lever?" And the answer in most cases was yes.
Yeah, like pull the lever.
When the brain's saying yes, you'd see little kind of peanut-shaped spots of yellow.
This little guy right here and these two guys right there.
The brain was being active in these places. And oddly enough, whenever people said yes
Yes.
to the lever question, the very same pattern lit up. Then he showed me another slide. This was a slide of a brain saying, "No,
No, I would not push the man.
I will not push the large man." And in this picture, this one we're looking at here, it was a totally different constellation of regions that lit up. This is the no, no, no crowd.
I think this is part of the no, no, no crowd.
So when people answer yes to the lever question, there are places in the brain which glow.
But when they answer no, I will not push the man, then you get a completely different part of the brain lighting up.
Even though the questions are basically the same. Well, what does that mean? And what does Josh make of this?
Well, he has a theory about this.
Well, a theory not proven, but I think that this is what I think the evidence suggests.
He suggests that the human brain doesn't hum along like one big unified system. Instead, he says maybe in your brain, in every brain, you'll find little warring tribes, little subgroups. One that is sort of doing a logical sort of accounting kind of thing.
You've got one part of the brain that says, 5 lives versus 1 life? Wouldn't it be better to say 5 versus 1?
And that's the part that would glow when you answer, yes, I'd pull the lever.
Yeah, pull the lever.
But there's this other part of the brain, which really, really doesn't like personally killing another human being and gets very upset at the fat man case and shouts, in effect,
No!
"No!
It understands it on that level and says, no, Dad, don't do.
Never. Don't think I've got push. No. Never. A person. No.
Instead of having sort of one system that just sort of churns out the answer in Bing, we have multiple systems that give different answers, and they duke it out, and hopefully out of that competition comes morality.
This is not a trivial discovery, that you struggle to find right and wrong depending upon what part of your brain is shouting the loudest. It's like Bleacher's morality.
Do you buy this?
I just don't know.
Yeah.
I've always kind of suspected that a sense of right and wrong is mostly stuff that you get from your mom and your dad and from experience, that it's culturally learned for the most part. Josh is kind of a radical in this respect. He thinks it's biological, deeply biological, that somehow we inherit from the deep past a sense of right and wrong that's already in our brains, from the get-go, before mom and dad.
Our primate ancestors, before we were full-blown humans, had intensely social lives. They have social mechanisms that prevent them from doing all the nasty things that they might otherwise be interested in doing. And so deep in our brain, we have what you might call basic primate morality. And basic primate morality doesn't understand things like tax evasion, but it does understand things like pushing your buddy off of a cliff.
Oh, so you're thinking then that the man on the bridge, that I'm on the bridge next to the large man, and that I have hundreds of thousands of years of training in my brain that says, don't murder the large man.
Right.
And
Whereas,
even if I'm thinking, if I murder the large man, I'm going to save 5 lives and only kill the woman, but there's something deeper down that says, don't murder the large man.
right. In that case, I think it's a pretty easy case. Even though it's 5 versus 1, in that case, people just go with what we might call the inner chimp. But there are other... But
The
there
inner chimp is your unfortunate way of describing an act of deep goodness.
Right, well, that's what's interesting.
It's the 10 Commandments,
Right,
for
well,
God.
right, well-
Inner chimp.
Right. Well, what's interesting is that we think of basic human morality as being handed down from on high. And it's probably better to say that it was handed up from below. That our most basic core moral values are not the things that we humans have invented, but the things that we've actually inherited from other people. The stuff that we humans have invented are the things that seem more peripheral and variable.
But something as basic as thou shalt not kill, which many people think was handed down in tablet form from a mountaintop from God directly to humans, no chimps involved.
Right.
You're suggesting that hundreds of thousands of years of on-the-ground training have gotten our brains to think, don't kill your kin. Don't kill
or
your...
at least, that should be your default response. I mean, certainly chimpanzees are extremely violent, and they do kill each other, but they don't do it as a matter of course. They, so to speak, have to have some context-sensitive reason for doing so.
So now we're getting to the rub of it. You think that profound moral positions may be somehow embedded in brain chemistry?
Yeah.
And Josh thinks there are times when these different moral positions that we have embedded inside of us, in our brains, when they can come into conflict. And in the original episode, we went into one more story. This one you might call the crying baby dilemma.
The situation is somewhat similar to the last episode of MASH, for people who are familiar with that. But the way we told the story, it goes like this. It's wartime.
There's an enemy patrol coming down the road.
You are hiding in the basement with some of your fellow villagers,
Let's kill those lights.
and the enemy soldiers are outside. They have orders to kill anyone that they find.
Be quiet. Tell nobody make a sound until they've passed us.
So there you are, you're huddled in the basement. All around you are enemy troops, and you're holding your baby in your arms. Your baby with a cold, a bit of a sniffle. And you know that your baby could cough at any moment.
If they hear your baby, they're going to find you and the baby and everyone else, and they're going to kill everybody. And the only way you can stop this from happening is cover the baby's mouth. But if you do that, the baby's going to smother and die. If you don't cover the baby's mouth, the soldiers are going to find everybody, and everybody's going to be killed, including you, including your baby.
And you have the choice. Would you smother your own baby to save the village? Or would you let your baby cough, knowing the consequences?
And this is a very tough question. People take a long time to think about it. And some people say yes, and some people say no.
Children are a blessing and a gift from God, and we do not do that to children.
Yes, I think I would kill my baby to save everyone else and myself.
No, I would not kill a baby.
I feel because it's my baby, I have the right to terminate the life.
I'd like to say that I would kill the baby, but I don't know if I'd have the inner strength.
No, if it comes down to killing my own child, my own daughter, or my own son, then I choose death.
Yeah, if you have to, because it was done in World War II. When the Germans were coming around, there was a mother that had a baby that was crying, and rather to be found, she actually suffocated the baby, but the other people lived.
Sounds like an old MASH thing. No, you do not kill your baby.
In the final MASH episode, the Korean woman who's a character in this piece, she murders her baby.
She killed it. She killed it.
Oh my God! Oh my God! I didn't mean for her to kill it. I just wanted it to be quiet. It was a baby. She smothered her own baby.
What Josh did is he asked people the question, would you murder your own child while they were in the brain scanner? And at just the moment when they were trying to decide what they would do, he took pictures of their brains. And what he saw, the contest we described before, was global in the brain. It was like a world war. That gang of accountants in that part of the brain was busy calculating. A whole village could die, a whole village could die. But the older and deeper reflex also was lit up, shouting, don't kill the baby. No, don't kill the baby. No. Inside, the brain was literally divided. Do the calculations. Don't kill the baby. Do the calculations. Two different tribes in the brain literally trying to shout each other out. And Jed, this was a different kind of contest than the ones we talked about before. Remember before, when people were pushing a man off of a bridge, overwhelmingly, their brains yelled, no, don't push the man. And when people were pulling the lever, overwhelmingly, yeah, pull the lever. Right. There it was distinct. Here, I don't think really anybody wins.
Well, who breaks the tie? I mean, they had to answer something, right?
That's a good question. And now, is there what happens? Is it just two cries that fight each other out, or is there a judge?
Well, that's an interesting question, and that's one of the things that we're looking at.
When you are in this moment with parts of your brain contesting, there are two brain regions.
These two areas here, towards the front.
Right behind your eyebrows, left and right, that light up. And this is particular to us. He showed me a slide.
It's those sort of areas that are very highly developed in humans as compared to other species.
So when we have a problem that we need to deliberate over, the front of the brain, this is above my eyebrow, sort of?
Yeah, right about there.
And there's two of them, one on the left and one on the right.
Bilateral.
And they are the things that monkeys don't have as much of that we have.
Certainly these parts of the brain are more highly developed in humans.
So looking at these two flashes of light at the front of a human brain, you could say we are looking at what makes us special.
So that's a fair statement.
A human being wrestling with a problem. That's what that is.
Yeah, where it's both emotional, but there's also a sort of a rational attempt to sort of sort through those emotions. Those are the cases that are showing more activity in that area.
So in those cases, when these dots above our eyebrows become active, what are they doing?
Well, he doesn't know for sure, but what he found is in these close contests, whenever those nodes are very, very active, it appears that the calculating section of the brain gets a bit of a boost, and the visceral inner chimp section of the brain is kind of muffled. No! The people who chose to kill their children, who made what is essentially a logical decision, over and over, those subjects had brighter glows in these two areas and longer glows in these two areas. So there is a definite association between these two dots above the eyebrow and the power of the logical brain over the inner chimp or the visceral brain.
Well, that's the hypothesis. So it's going to take a lot of more research to sort of tease apart what these different parts of the brain are doing, or if some of these are just sort of activated in an incidental kind of way. I mean, we really don't know. This is all very new.
Okay, so that was the story.